Hey, it is Aliki here and I have just returned from my Machu Picchu trip, so I have so many practical things I want to share with you. This video will consist of 3 parts. Part 1 will be purely about Machu Picchu. Part 2 I will cover ways how you can get to Machu Picchu, and part 3 will be about the Salkantay Trek. Before you're gonna get to Machu Picchu, you will end up in Aguascalientes. And about Aguascalientes, I just wanna say that it's quite touristic, so it's more expensive than other places in Peru, but it's very, very safe. We were hiking up to Machu Picchu at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black and I felt very safe. There was literally no worries. From Aguascalientes, you have 2 ways how to get up to Machu Picchu. You can climb the stairs, which can take from hour to 2 hours, depending on your how physically ready you are for it. And the steps are quite steep, and it can get a bit challenging. And you're going through the rainforest, so it's quite hot. So if you are coming to Machu Picchu and Aguascalientes by train or bus and you haven't done any trekking before, I definitely recommend you to take the bus. But of course, if you are like us and we were like trekking for 3 days, we felt like skipping the last 4 kilometers and taking the bus would be wrong. So we did the steps up. If you decide to take the bus, then the bus stop is literally in the center of Aguascalientes. Ask anyone, they will guide you to it. The bus ticket both ways costs $24, and you can only do like one way and pay $12, so you can go up with the bus and then walk down the stairs. Bus goes every 15 minutes and it takes around half an hour to get up. You will need to buy the ticket in advance and stick with the time that you have booked the ticket at. If you decide to walk, then the stairs cost nothing, it's for free. Bus to Machu Picchu goes from the Aguascalientes city center. If you decide to walk, you will have to walk half an hour to the first checkpoint, and then after checkpoint, straight away there are stairs that take you up directly to Machu Picchu. So either you're going with a bus or you decide to walk up, there will be the first checkpoint for Machu Picchu, and at that point, you definitely 100% need your original passport, so don't forget it. For me personally, they didn't ask any COVID certificates or anything, but just to be on the safe side, I did took my original certificate, and I would advise you to do the same. Machu Picchu for the public opens at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you need to be there at the time when you have the ticket. They are a bit flexible. You can do it an hour before or after, but just to make sure there are no issues, you should stick with the time that you have booked the ticket at. Make sure you have the right ticket. If you're going to be booking through an agency, I'm sure they're going to make sure you have the correct ticket. But if you're booking it on your own, there actually are different types of tickets, and there is a ticket that only allows you to get into the site. It doesn't allow you to go up and see the Machu Picchu from like the top. So definitely make sure to look at the tickets carefully and buy the one you definitely want. So once you've got the ticket, you've got up, you are in Machu Picchu, you just want to enjoy it, but I want to warn you that in Machu Picchu, you can only go one way. So if you pass the main lookouts where you wanted to make a picture, that's it. You won't be able to get back. So make sure you enjoy each viewpoint, each place, make enough pictures that you can move on because you won't be able to get back. And this is something that only happened now after COVID, so I'm not sure, they might cancel it at some point. But at the moment, June 2022, you only can spend 2.5 hours in the Machu Picchu site. So in Machu Picchu, you can't eat, you can't snack. But once you're going to be finishing your 3-hour tour and you come out, and if you are like me, always hungry, always want to snack, I recommend you to have your own snacks, because the cafe up there is only one cafe and it's super, super expensive. Hopefully you will be more lucky than me and you won't get rain and fog, and the weather will be absolutely amazing on the day you visit Machu Picchu. But in case it starts to rain, don't worry about raincoats, because they actually sell raincoats up there. Drones are not allowed in Machu Picchu, so don't even bother taking it with you. Also, the security there is very, very strict. With me during my visit, there was a girl and she was obviously underdressed, overdressed, I don't know, like she was wearing like a summer dress. It's freezing cold up there. Well, at least that day it was raining, it was foggy, it was cold, and she had like this yellow summer dress, and obviously she was making the pictures for Instagram or for TikTok, like you know, it's like for social media. And the security guard went to her and asked her to dress up, like to put on a jacket and coat. And I mean, it's because the Machu Picchu is a very sacred place, especially for the locals, and it's just very, very inappropriate to do things like these. So be very, very careful. If you want to film TikTok, do it very discreet. And or if you want to, like, there was a guy who took off his shirt and the security straight ran up to him. So it's just a few things that are just inappropriate to do them in such a sacred place, so don't do them. But if you do them, if you want your viral video, then just make sure you do it very discreetly. And just on a personal note, that, and I still make this mistake all the time, it's not Machu Picchu, it's actually Machu Picchu, but I'm still saying Machu Picchu automatically. But yeah, if you want to be completely correct, please use Machu Picchu. Since the moment I entered Peru, which was like a month before I'm doing Machu Picchu, everyone who I met on my way, I asked, how did they get to Machu Picchu? How did they like it? I spoke with many local guides asking what is the best way to go to Machu Picchu. So this section is really my opinion, but based on 100 other opinions. Because yes, for me, this was the hardest part to decide how to get to Machu Picchu. So I will show you the four most popular options how to get to Machu Picchu, and we're gonna compare them, and I hope this section will help you decide quicker how to get to Machu Picchu. So for the most popular ways how to get to Machu Picchu is obviously yourself with a train or bus. You can do Salkantay Trek, there is Inca Trail, and there is Jungle Trail, and we're gonna cover all four of them. So lengthwise, Salkantay Trek and Jungle Trek will be the longest ones, and then doing it yourself and Inca Trail are the quicker, shorter options. So those two options are better if you are short in time, but if you have time, then you can do one of these bigger treks. Of course, I have to add that if you are short on time and you want to do anything, I'm sure any agency will do a costume trip for you, and you can do any place in 1 or 2 days, or you can do 7, 8, and 9 day trips. So this is like the standard classical options that are out there when you come to Cusco and you want to book your trip. But yes, of course, you can customize everything. So if you worry about treks and how hard they are, yes, I would say Salkantay and Inca Trail are like the hardest options, but still they are completely doable. And especially if you do it with a tour, the guide is gonna make sure you do it in your pace and everyone finishes the trails. Jungle Trail still includes a lot of hiking, but at the same time, a lot of distances are done with a bike going down or zip lining. So it's much more fun way how to do the trail, and at the same time, it is easier. Of course, the easiest way is to get to Aguascalientes, to Machu Picchu with the train. With the bus, you actually still have to hike 10 kilometers, but if you look at the bigger picture, it's just 10 kilometers, and if you want to do it really, really cheap, then going with the bus is the cheapest option. But about the costs, I will cover a bit later. So why it was so hard to decide for me which trail to take? Because each trail has its unique selling point, something special about it. So now we're gonna look at that. So Salkantay Trek offers Umantay Lake as a part of it because you're walking and it's on its way. And actually for us personally, that was one of the biggest points why we decided towards Salkantay Trek. So some people actually do Umantay Lake as a day trip. So in case you do decide to do Machu Picchu any other way, you can still visit Umantay Lake, but that's gonna be a whole other day. It's gonna be a whole other day trip, obviously extra expense. So yeah, you can visit Umantay Lake as a separate thing, but obviously on a Salkantay Trek, it's just part of it. I mean, Inca Trail, I feel like no comments needed. It is the most special trail you can do to Machu Picchu. Like on your way, you see so many Inca ruins, archaeological sites. It's a very special trail because it is supposed to be the original historical Inca trail, how Incas went from Cusco to Machu Picchu. So Inca Trail, hands down, definitely an amazing trail to pick. The only problem, it's a bit expensive. But about the minuses of each trail, we're gonna cover a bit later. So Jungle Trail is definitely the most fun way how to get to Machu Picchu because you're doing rafting, you're going with bikes, you're doing zip lining, like there are so many activities on the way and also some hiking, so it's a bit challenging. I think it's a very, very good combo of many different things to do on your way, a fun way how to get to Machu Picchu. Okay, and now look at the negatives, because this is literally what helped me choose the trek. I basically put positives against the negatives, and that helped me to pick. So we have to look at the negative things just so we can pick the trail. Okay, I'm gonna start with the bus and train. This is purely personal opinion, because I actually went, so I did the trek, Salkantay Trek to Machu Picchu, but I did took the train back, so I have both experiences, because that was what I couldn't choose to go with the train or do the trek, and then I thought, oh, I can do both. So I did both, and so I can compare, and we did the normal train. It wasn't no luxury train, it was just a normal train, and the experience was completely average. So if your main argument is that, oh, the train ride is going to be so beautiful and all that, then no, because I got a seat that I had no window next to me. Well, I had the window kind of a bit in front of me, and it was like all scratched and dirty. And I saw other people got a very like clean and nice windows, and they could actually see something. I literally couldn't see anything. So you can be very unlucky and sit in a place where you actually can't see much. And just in general, the train was very average, like a very normal average train ride, nothing special about it. Said that, I have to say that there is this luxury train option that is amazing. They serve you like coffee and cakes, and like it's ultimate experience, but that's super expensive. So if money is not a problem, a luxurious train is definitely an option, but the normal train, it's just the way how to get to Machu Picchu. So bus is just a convenient, cheap way that still involves a bit of hiking. The only negative about Salkantay Trek I can think is the level of difficulty, and that I was very worried that I won't be able to do it, because I heard that it's really hard. I spoke with people who have done it, and they say it is hard, but it's doable. So it's hard really to measure if you can or can't do it. But I think unless you have some, some conditions, or you have problems with the knees, or you really feel like you're not physically ready, then maybe think twice. But definitely the track is doable. It's not as hard as maybe you think. I actually did 2-day trekking in Colca Canyon, and that was harder than this trek. So if you can do Colca Canyon in Arequipa, you can definitely do Salkantay Trek here in Cusco. So I put the level of difficulty as the negative, but really it is doable, it is okay, and the hard bits are part of the adventure. That's what makes this trek so special, and this whole way to Machu Picchu so magical. As I mentioned before, the only negative to Inca Trail, I see that it's more expensive than the other treks. About the jungle tour, again, this is purely personal opinion, because when I had to make the decisions, these were the things that were going through my head. And from hearing what other people were saying, basically, jungle trek is a really fun trek to do. It's so much fun. But you don't go high up in the mountains, you don't see the views, you don't have the challenges of the trek, because at the end, it is fairly easy trek. There is only one day when you have to do some hardcore hiking. Other days, it's just, a few hours, a half of a day. The rest of the day, you do fun things, so you go down the mountain with a bicycle. So you don't go through the challenge. And what was the main thing that helped me decide? I was thinking, I can go rafting anywhere. I can go on bicycle tours anywhere in more amazing places, especially, for bicycle tours. I can do ziplining in loads of amazing places. But to Machu Picchu, there are only some very special treks that I can do. So that was like the biggest thing that helped me decide, because I was switching between Salkantay Trek and Jungle Trek, and I decided to go with Salkantay Trek because I can only do Salkantay Trek here in Machu Picchu, here to Machu Picchu. I can do the jungle, similar tours like Jungle Tour anywhere else in the world. Okay, and sometimes it just comes down to the cost. So now we will look at each trail and compare each trail. I just need to note before we jump into this, of course, each agency charges differently. So this is purely based on my personal experience and the pricing I'm more or less aware of. So the bus will be the cheapest option. Then I put Salkantay and Jungle in the same bracket because the prices for the trip are more or less very similar. Then I put the normal train ticket because actually the train ticket is quite expensive. I think it's because it's the only option how to get there. So if you want like the most convenient, easiest way how to get to Machu Picchu, you only have train. So that's why it's quite expensive. Then comes Inca Trail, which is like one of the most expensive trails how to get to Machu Picchu. And as the most expensive option, I put the luxurious train because the prices there can go really, really high up, because you can imagine you have different levels of premium services. I really, really hope this comparison is going to help you, because I went through this struggle for a month and I asked so many people, and this is based on like 50 different opinions. So yeah, I really, really hope this video will help you to choose your way to Machu Picchu. As I said, I at the end decided to Salkantay Trek, and no regrets at all. I absolutely loved it. I actually have the whole video documenting every day, step by step, literally. So you can check that out to get the feel of the Salkantay Trek. I will just cover a few points. Point one, my biggest fear that I won't be able to do it. Trust me, you can. It's not that bad. Second point is very based on my personal experience, but basically at the moment it's a dry season in Peru. It's like the best time to visit Machu Picchu. But of course, my luck, it was raining for 2 days, and even when it was clear day or raining day, it changed from rain, fog, snow, sun. Like it literally could rain for half an hour, then it doesn't, then it rains again. So I think we definitely were very unlucky. My trip was very unlucky, but in general, you need to be ready that the weather changes every half an hour. And actually, it's a fact that when you're gonna be up there, the Salkantay Pass, the highest point, it can actually snow. Like either way, it's gonna be really, really cold. So the first 2 days are like medium and cold, and then the third day is actually in a rainforest when it's quite hot. So for this trip, you really have to be ready for everything. You need to have warm clothes for the top beds for the first 2 days, and then you need like t-shirt and shorts for the final days. Definitely a raincoat, either like a very good rain resistant jacket or a proper raincoat. Also, definitely a sunscreen, maybe not all the time, but especially if the sun comes out, it doesn't matter how high, how high you're up, how cold it is, the sun is strong there. So definitely have a sunscreen with you and put it on whenever the sun comes out. Ideally, if you can, bring spare shoes that you can change, because if it will be raining, if it will be muddy, then your shoes gonna be ruined. My shoes were quite ruined, but I could still wear them because I have like proper hiking boots, and the mud and water kind of didn't bother me. But if you are hiking with like a running shoes, or that kind of a shoes, and you get in the mud and you get in the rain, then it's just better if you have a separate pair of shoes. One thing we were told we definitely need is the mosquito repellent, and yes, you will need it on a third day, basically when you start to go into the rainforest. But for the first 2 days, I was quite lucky. I didn't face mosquitoes because I think it was just too cold for them. But yes, for the final days, when you're going into the rainforest and when you're sleeping in a tent, definitely get a mosquito repellent too. From a personal experience, I think don't buy too much water, because you don't want to be carrying a heavy bottles of water, because there are several stops where you can buy water. The water will be a bit more expensive, but we're talking here like $1 more expensive. It's that $1 is worth the fact that you have a lighter bag, and you don't have a super heavy bag with 3 bottles of water. Big question: can I do Salkantay myself? Yes, you can. I think the trail is fairly straightforward. I don't think you can really get lost, and also it's a lot of people doing the trek. Like we met so many different groups, with who we chatted about the trek, and so you're gonna meet a lot of people on your way, and just follow the group of people, worst case. Also, of course, you need to plan when and where to stay for the night, but there are several camping spots very near the trail, so you can't really pass them. Like you see, it's a camping site. So yeah, I think it's quite easy, especially now after COVID, when there is less tourists. Like nothing was fully booked. We always had tents next to us that were empty. So I think it's fairly easy to just, if you know where the campsites are, just go that day and just stay in the campsites that day. So yeah, definitely Salkantay is doable on its own. So yes, you can do it on your own, but from my personal experience, I actually love doing it with a group, because you always meet new people. And even if you do it on your own, you still can meet people, but everyone is with their groups, and everyone kind of sticking with their groups, and it's nice to have like that feeling of being part of a group and doing it together. So I think doing it with agency, with a group, it adds another extra value. Okay, things I have to warn you about. First, there might not be a shower. It's a thing. So maybe if maybe you can prepare some wet wipes just in case. There is no Wi-Fi or any kind of connection. Like even if you have data on your phone, it's not gonna connect. I don't know why. It's just an area of no Wi-Fi, no connections, of nothing, which I personally love it. I absolutely loved it. I didn't miss my phone at all. I was filming a lot. I was obviously with my phone, but I was disconnected for 3 days and I absolutely loved it. There will be possibility to charge your cameras and phones though. And I feel like this is obvious, but I'm just gonna mention it in case. There obviously are no ATMs, so prepare some cash money because you will probably want to buy some water or some snacks on the way, or maybe give out some tips. So yeah, although there are no connections, no Wi-Fi's, anything like that, there will be several stops where you can buy some snacks, some water, and also do not worry if you feel like you literally can't do the trek. It's so hard, you can't do it, or anything happens. The guide will always be able to organize a horse for you, so you will be able to get to your camp with a horse. So yeah, just to conclude on the Salkantay section, I just want to say that if you have any worries, don't. I had a worry that I can't do it, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be raining, and all three things happened. I was tired, I was exhausted, it was raining, I had to go through mud, like all the worst things. We had like all the worst weather, and still I enjoyed it so, so, so much. And maybe this is gonna be a very unpopular opinion, but once we got up to Machu Picchu, obviously it was amazing. Like, you're in Machu Picchu, this is great. But we took some pictures, we enjoyed the view, and then we moved to the side, and it was amazing. But I feel like because I did the trek, I did the 3 days hiking towards it, it built more up to it, and it was extra special. It was extra amazing. I feel like if I would have gone just with the bus or train, you get there, you go up, you see it, you've been there, you've done it, and that's kind of it. But the whole trekking, it doesn't matter if you choose Salkantay jungle or any other trails that actually are more trails. Any trail you do, it's gonna add an extra value to your Machu Picchu trip. Okay, I believe I covered everything. Maybe I forgot something, but if there is anything on your mind, if you want to know anything about Machu Picchu or the Salkantay Trek, please message me on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere. Yeah, please feel free to message me and I'll be happy to help you. I hope you will have an amazing trip, and if you are looking for some other things to do in Cusco, I actually have a video of the best day trips from Cusco, so make sure to check that out if you are around Cusco and want to do something more than just Machu Picchu. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe for some more Peru travel content.